Monday. Taskmaster and I are back to resume our Monday update live stream, updating you on Leo Glossary and music on Leo and other projects. So, what do you have for us tonight, Task? What's new in the world of INLEO and Leo Glossary?
Nothing really because it's been evidently a week and a half of bugs, and the sites and nodes have been very temperamental, and so it's just a matter of waiting till some things are updated. At least seems labs are a little better than the regular site, but there's still issues they're trying to work out.
And Kel said something about they hired somebody new on the team, so they
Yeah, that was. I mean, he mentioned the last AMA that they were talking to some developers, and I guess at least one was hired, and this person does, I guess, website troubleshooting. So Cal mentioned that they've fixed more bugs in 4 days than they did all of February. So
wow.
maybe that's a positive. I don't. I mean, it sounds positive, but it's just one of those things. I watched a video probably about 2 weeks ago now, and somebody was talking about how for most of the first year, I don't know if this is true or not, but most of the first year, eBay was down rather than up. So, I mean, just technical glitches. Please stand by. And people get all pissy and moany and complain, and it's like, well, go to Facebook, go to Twitter, just get the hell out. I mean, it's either you're an early adopter or you're not.
Right. I mean, there's going to be things happening and growing pains. I mean, they're
Well, yeah, it's this is what I mean. I wasn't a social media user, but I mean, you think about YouTube in its early days and Facebook in its early days. They had issues. They weren't perfect. Trying to compare Leo to a website that's 15, 18, 20 years old and on version 6,942, it's no comparison.
no, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And I mean, unfortunately, most people aren't cut out for this. I am rapidly concluding that very few people truly, even people who use Web3, truly understand Web3, and they just don't seem to get it.
Well, that post that I saw, that thread that I saw from you about the Web3 thinking about how many web pages you create when you create a blog on Hive. Like, wow, I never even gave that a thought other than, I mean, if you're putting external links in there, but you're talking about the blog itself.
Yeah, I mean, how many URLs are you creating? 5, 6, 7, and potentially what could be created off that. I mean, if there's 50 UIs, general purpose UIs, that every article that gets created is simultaneously on 50 different websites. That's huge. That's the value of frictionless data and how it can spread. And people don't get it. I mean, you create a Medium post, it's on Medium. You create a tweet, it's on Twitter or X or whatever it is. Uh, you create a comment on a blog post, it's on whatever number of sites that blog post is on. So it's going to be on HiBlog, it's going to be on Peak D, it's going to be on Leo. So there's three right there. Ecency probably. So there's four. You're on Hive blocks. There's 5. There's another block explorer being created, so there will be 6. I think Wavio picks stuff up, so there's 7. I mean, that's just one example of the ability to take a page and look at it in a completely different way. And that's just one of many. Um, and that's also why when people start talking about, well, what do you want to see, and what's most useful, and what do you want to see next, and people say stuff from a user perspective, which is fine, but to me, it's like I'm like, give me polls because I have a use case for it. And I got a use case above and beyond what most people think of polls on Leo. And it just changes everything. But again, people are in the Web 2 mindset instead of the Web 3 mindset.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be good when. So it sounds like the polls are like not the highest priority though of what they're developing.
Well, polls, for polls to work, they need to get half SQL going. And until that goes, there's really no point to polls. I don't know when, and I'm sure they don't know when because they have to try to catch up and run the entire blockchain or whatever. So trying to sync that up could take weeks. I don't know how long it takes to sync this stuff up. So um, maybe we'll find something out tomorrow on the AMA, maybe not.
So the SQL, that's the database like itself, right?
Well, there's Hive SQL, which that's what Arcane runs, and that's what was down. That actually went back up yesterday. But there's also this thing called Hive Application Framework, that Block Trades and others have been working on for 2 years, and that's a layer 2 node system that applications can tap into, and they don't have to then read the blockchain, because the blockchain people, Block Trades and his crew, I guess, they do all the updates, they put all the data, they feed everything into Half, and then it's just a matter of the developers from the application setting up their databases and pulling the data. And what that does is that reduces the burden on the application developers to even worry about blockchain. They don't need to. And before Hive SQL went down, Cal and the team had been working on that, but they hadn't gotten to the point where Half SQL was live with Leo, and it still isn't. So uh,
Okay.
I don't know what they'll be looking at with that, but hopefully it's soon. Because as I said, I mean, when I ask for stuff, it's because I got use cases.
Yeah, you already have something in mind for what you're asking for.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I got a number of different directions just based upon polls. I got one, two, three different use cases for polls. Um, Actually, four different use cases, but one is just generic poll making. So I won't even count that. But uh, it I'll just tell you what the fourth one was or is. It's basic database build, and it's creating a poll like, you know John, Paul, George, or Ringo. Who's your favorite? I mean, that's a poll that's been valid for 60 years. it'll be valid for another 60 years.
Right.
Because, who's your favorite Beatle? And I guess you could do the same thing for the Rolling Stones. You could do the same thing for the Monkees. Um, who's your favorite? And that's not a time sensitive poll. So somebody could come across that poll 3 years from now and vote on it. And so, what if we have a database of 5,000 generic, not generic, but 5,000 polls of that same vein where, Star Wars or Star Trek? Um, which do you prefer? Um, which angel from Charlie Angels do you like the best? Um, you know, which character in MASH did you like as Alan Alda's sidekick? Wayne Rogers or Mike Farrell? BJ or Trapper? These are things that you could just keep doing that you know go on forever. Dogs or cats? What's your favorite pet? Um, just things of that nature. As silly as they are, it's a poll that you get a database of thousands and thousands and thousands of them under the polls tag, and somebody comes across it, they can vote on it. Now here's something somebody can engage with. Instead of having an empty database and saying, oh, come to Threads and use Threads. Well, if there's nothing there, there's nothing there.
Right. Yeah, I was in Leo just now, and I put my embed in there this morning, and now I'm having trouble editing, and then like,
You have to use Labs for that. They haven't updated anything on production. So,
oh, okay.
yeah, you have to go to Labs. If you're trying to embed something like a video, create the thread uh, and then enter it without the embed, then go to Labs, go to your profile, or it'll appear on the latest, and then you can edit right there. The edit works on Labs; it doesn't work on the production. That's one thing that we were told, that they're looking at fixing more of the problems on Labs, getting Labs straightened out, then do a super duper update. That's how I think they're going to approach it in the future. Um, so they'll I guess keep fixing stuff on Labs till they decide it's time that, okay, let's do a big push over to the production site. So that's fine. I mean, you just have to use Labs to embed the videos and things like that, and edit your stuff.
So that's labs.leofinance or
Yeah, it's labs.leofinance.io, and then you can go and embed. Now, there's no polls on that either, so
mhm.
that's that's all down. But it just all comes back to, and Mike possibly is doing a wonderful job. He started. He took the idea that I had with containers, and he went another level, and he said he created mega containers.
Yeah, I saw a couple of those. I'm like, holy cow, wow.
Yeah, and so mega containers are um, like I made containers of different shows. Um, I did Sopranos. I did Breaking Bad. I don't even remember all the shows I did. I did 3 or 4 shows, and so he made a mega container for TV shows. He made a mega container for movies. Um, I did, a container for Back to School, the Rodney Dangerfield
Oh
film.
yeah, right.
And I said, well, why don't you create one for AI generated um, images? Because then we can go to these AI image creators. And I created stuff for cryptocurrency. I created stuff um,
Did you do the Skylines one?
for lions. Um, I started that. I don't remember how far. I didn't get very far in that. Um, but I did a couple, three there, and he's done a few. And so basically, what the idea with that is to create a repository of royalty free images that people can go in and just copy and use in their blog posts. I mean, the AI shit these days is good enough that a lot of this stuff is photo quality. You know, it's not
Yeah.
perfect. It's not exact. I use a program free. They give you 25 uh, prompts a day with 4 responses on each prompt. So you'll
Which
get
one
four
is that?
off each one, uh, which is 100 images a day if I did it all. But of course, that you're not going to get 100 images that are usable because some it's like, yeah, that looks like crap, or it didn't
Hmm.
work out, or you do a prompt and it's like I did a prompt on uh, NFTs and forget it, didn't know what I was talking about. So, and I did one on non fungible tokens and I wrote out, didn't know what I was talking about. So, those were garbage. They wouldn't have worked. Um, but that's the type of stuff that we can now do with these containers, with threads, with the mega containers. Build a repository. I built a page that captures the mega containers on Leo Glossary. So as that expands, and you just think about it, you can do it for travel, and then you have your containers for Venice and you know Beijing and New York City and Hawaii and Acapulco and whatever. I mean, you can do it for just about anything. And um, so, again, that's just a way to keep building. And all this might possibly was doing is, basic menu mapping. I mean, that's what it is. If you ever seen how the I don't know now, but the old time developers, how they would create a website, it was what was called the menu map. And, each page leads into the other page, and you try to set it up very systemic in a way that it flows, which of course also helps with Google. Um,
Mm.
if you have a smooth flowing page, you don't have any orphan pages and crap like that. You have everything tied together, and it to Google, it's a sensible flow. And that's what these developers would do. And that's all my possibly is doing. That's all Leo Glossary really is, at least the initial iteration. The later iterations with music on Leo, movies on Leo, I'm not capturing any of that data. So that's just really going to depend on search engine and links and things of that nature.
Are you not capturing it because of what's going on right now, or?
No, it's just I mean too much trouble to capture every song. I mean, the songs are being captured, but they're not appearing on the database per se until there's an artist page. Um, so that's how they're being captured. But the movies and the actors, I don't have any of those pages. I don't have a list of actor pages that were created, actors and actresses. Um, you just have to use a search engine. Um, Ultimately, hopefully, Leo builds the search for INLEO that all of this stuff can be searched, and maybe that's where half SQL will help because I understand that that'll also feed into the blog post, so they'll be able to pull that data too.
Yeah, I was trying to add a picture to my the one container that I did create. I was like, why can't I add a picture? That must be why, because it's not working.
I haven't had an issue with pictures now. I mean, but that doesn't mean that things haven't been a little squirrely. And your best bet is always to try labs. If you don't
Okay.
get work on the regular site, to flip to labs and then try to edit your stuff and add the picture there. post your regular thread and then go to labs and try to add the picture.
Okay.
It could be the node issues, it could be the image server. That's another thing that you know is not foolproof either.
Is anything really full?
No, I mean but again, I mean our stuff's shakier than most, but it's the early stages. I mean, hopefully this half SQL will stabilize things a great deal more and will accelerate the process of pulling the data and feeding the data in that's needed, like dashboard. Dashboard's going to depend exclusively on half SQL. Um, I don't think it can be done the way they want it to be done without it. So,
Okay. Wow. So yeah, it felt like I had been gone forever last week.
yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, you picked a good week to be gone because there was a lot of headaches and a lot of bitching and moaning and whining and complaining. And I mean, just typical stuff. And it's like,
Mhm.
um, people don't have enough to do. That's the problem. It's like, well, Threads isn't working. Well, I don't give a crap. I got such a long laundry list of things to do. Fine, I'll go use I'll go use Longform. I mean, I still got probably 1,500 actor pages to do. Um,
Wow.
Still working on the dead ones. I mean, we haven't even. I think they're being scraped. All the live actors and actresses. So I mean, it's building a movie database. I mean, we haven't even gotten to the films or TV shows. So I mean, it's just it's an enormous task, but there's huge potential in it. I think because I think I don't know. I want to say I think people see the light, but people don't see the light. I'm no longer going to give the benefit of the doubt to people because people repeatedly have proven to me they don't get it. Um, but once I start to take these pages and pull them out like I envision, um, I think there will be a few smart people who start to see the potential. Just a few. And then the dopey statements like, well, we don't need to build our own databases, which to me is just as dumb as it gets. Um,
Well, why not? Why wouldn't you want to?
well, what do you have to offer if you don't have a database?
Right.
I mean, what do you have to offer? It's the entire internet is database. That's what a website is. Everything you see on a website is pulled from a database, and that
Right.
data was entered by somebody at some point in time. Um, Now, on a site like Amazon, that was entered by the Amazon people of their products and that type of thing, the pricing and whatnot. Um, on social media, it's the users who enter that data. But uh, again, it's how much of that data is worthwhile in terms of usability today. On
Right.
social media, most of it's not worth much other than to these platforms to train the large language models. And that's what they're using it for. So even then, 17 years of tweets, that has some value to Elon and Grok. Doesn't have much value outside of that when you think about it.
17 years, huh? Wow.
I think it was 2007 when it started. I'm not exactly sure. But I think that's when Twitter started was 2007, maybe 2008, 16, 17 years ago. Been a while. And that's the difference. It all feeds into somewhere. And I mean, how people say you can have Web3 if we don't have our own databases, to me, that's absurd.
But when we talking about Spotify or whatever, there's like billions of playlists.
Exactly. And where are all those playlists? They're on Spotify servers.
Right.
They're owned by Spotify. I mean, people built it, but they're owned by Spotify. You cannot access that unless you're in a Spotify account, period. Um, but, over whatever number of years, 4 billion playlists were built. That's a lot of freaking playlists. So it's going to take some time, but you need that information in there. And that's what I've been harping upon with music on Leo, with movies on Leo. All this stuff feeds in. And, I mean, the news on Leo is going real well. I mean, that's now over a hundred threads, based on the trending, which is good. I mean, it's okay. It should be 200 at a minimum, 300, because think of all the stories that are out there. But people are using that, and that's a good thing. Um, Now, that's not very sticky in terms of the data, but I mean, you need information on what's going on in the world. And yeah, I mean, now you're dealing with a news database instead of a movie database or a music database, which, most of the CNN or MSNBC or Fox or ABC or BBC, what good is their database from 4 days ago? It's not worth shit for the most part. And what good is their database from 6 months ago? It's really not worth anything, other than maybe from a historical perspective. There may be some special interest stories and crap like that, but most of your news, I mean, who really gives a crap what happened 6 months ago in sports, in weather, in politics, in uh, the stock market, in business? Who cares? I mean, it was 6 months ago. Who cares? Nobody cares. Um, who really cares what happened last Thursday? Very few. Now, you care what happened in the last 24 hours. That's why you go to websites like that. That's what we need on Leo, is to have this stuff that, as it happens, people are posting it, tagging it, and that information's available. But that's not long-term stuff. What I feel is needed is people to build the long-term stuff that people can go back to repeatedly.
Like songs and movies. And
Yeah, songs, movies. I mean, a Wikipedia page. I mean, you'll go to the same Wikipedia page 16 times. Why? Because the other 15 times you looked it up, but you can't remember what the hell it is. Um, these are things that, I mean, if you write a page about the War of 1812, or about the history of the camera, or about New York City, that's not going to change. Okay, maybe you can add it for New York City or whatever, but you can update it. But how New York City was founded, that doesn't change. Once it's there, it's there. Doesn't change. And somebody reading that, 5 years from now, I mean, shit, it's 200 years old or more anyway. So what's another 5 years? Writing something about, John F. Kennedy. He's been dead for 60 years. So what's another 5 years? Whatever is written today from a historical perspective, when he was born, and, when he served in the Senate, and, all that crap. Um, that's Once it's there, it doesn't change. It's reference material. And
mhm.
that's what people go to, is reference material. We haven't even talked about statistics. Nobody's taking up stats, but that's another thing you could use, especially with these mega containers. You could start throwing all kinds of stats in threads and tying it all together.
And the amount of possibilities, like I keep saying, it's endless. And
Yeah, it is. It's really anything that's on Web 2 could be placed on Web 3. I mean, I could take and create a container. Now, I could create a mega container for the Los Angeles Lakers. I could create a container for every year the Lakers played, including when they were in Minneapolis. Then I could create a thread of each player on the team in that year, which is a container. So then I would have, I don't know, let's say there was 25 people who appeared in the for the 1972 Lakers. So I got the 1972 container. I got 25 threads, one for each person, and I have assorted stats for each person in there, in each thread.
wow.
Just basic stats. I could do that, and I could do that for every year the Los Angeles Lakers or the Lakers have been around. And I could do that for every sport. I could do that for football. I could do that for baseball. I could do that for basketball. Do that for hockey. Could do that for EPL. I mean,
EPL, what's EPL?
English Premier League soccer.
Oh,
That's,
soccer. Okay.
um, I mean, that's just one example. Um, I mean, recipes. I have yet to see a recipe on Threads, and I've mentioned this a number of times. Um, you know, why don't people think about this? Might possibly has been, but there hasn't been too many others.
Who was the one who was doing the drinks, the cocktails, and whatnot?
Uh, Tokenized society. Yeah, he did it for a while. I mean, he hadn't done much with it that I know. Um, but there was a great idea. Drink recipes, desserts, baking. I mean, it is endless possibilities. And especially with the container idea, you can just keep adding to.
And who says we don't need to make our own databases?
Foolish people. I mean, it's again. I mean, this all also goes into Leo AI. So it's going to be searchable. It's going to be findable, and it's going to be pulled up. And that's one of the keys. So get the data in there, and I mean, nobody here's the interesting thing. I don't know if it's really interesting, but it's just the reality. Nobody's asked me why I do what I do. Nobody, not a single person has asked me, why do you do this? And again, if you look at what's going on Threads, there's a reason I'm all over the place. There's a reason you are going to see me. It's not because I write up 40 threads a day or whatever. That's not it. The reason being is if you search music on Leo, and I know our search is squirrely right now,
Mm-hmm.
but you look at the party room, who do you think is showing up there the most? And I'm not talking in terms of posting in the party room. I'm talking of whose threads are dropped in the party room. It's mostly mine, not exclusively, but a fair portion of them are mine. Why? Well, guess who's put more music in Leo than anybody? Me. There's a reason for that. And there's a reason why what I said, people do not understand Web3. If this is digital real estate, I'm going out and claiming as much fucking real estate as I can. I'm going out and claiming as much land as I can, knowing that this stuff will show up in the search. So if somebody enters into a search Van Halen or something like that, I want them finding me.
You had ACDC. You have a bunch of that out there.
Yeah. And so it's the same premise with Leo Glossary. And actually, Leo Glossary is going in another direction because ultimately that's going to be NFT'd. So now, I mean, I got a fair bit of pages and I haven't even put my name on anything. But I don't have to because the account, I got the keys to the account. But I put other names on pages when other people do it. And the reason that somebody's name goes on a page is that's their page. At a certain point in time, there will be an NFT created that's tied to that page that will be sent to that person. So again, the person who is getting me all these actors and actress pages, he's now getting credit for that page. The one who's creating some of the movie pages, she's stopped the last month, but she has a fair bit of pages that she has. This is what people don't understand. It's like you can own an individual page within Leo. You can't own an individual page within Facebook. You may have the page where, okay, I can go edit it because it's my profile page, but that's it. And even then, you don't own it. It's Facebook's page.
Yeah, and they get to tell you what you can have on it and what you cannot.
Well, that too. But if there's an ad on there, guess who gets the ad revenue? Facebook, not you.
Mhm.
And this is where it's like the change in thinking, and it's like somebody was writing the other day. Well, Leo's the only social media platform where people who just use it sporadically are basically degraded. It wasn't phrased like that, but that was a basic essence. They're attacked, and I'm thinking to myself, "Fuck yeah," because this is a cooperative, and this is Web3. This is the only Web3 social media network that operates like this that I know. You go on Web2, you can use that sporadically. Elon likes that. But you come here, you come to Leo, pull your fucking weight. And if you see the opportunity and you see what somebody like Mike possibly is doing, and he's setting up these mega containers, well, guess whose account they're being set up under? His. Guess who's going to get? And ultimately, ad revenue is going to apply to threads. If some of those mega containers take off and get 300, 400, 500, 600 clicks a month, guess who gets the credit for that? Might possibly. I mean, and if these containers are tied to each other and the mega containers are tied to each other, and you don't want to go into a mega container for music because you don't give a shit, but you do want a mega container for AI generated images or for travel or for sports or for baseball or for politics or for whatever history, the Roman Empire, whatever the hell it is. If there's a mega container, you're going into his mega container because he's the one setting them up. I mean, there's somebody claiming the real estate.
It's like, go west and get all that land that's not occupied. And
yeah, it's exactly it's staking your claim and then building something around it, and just simply throwing up a thread, or even just throwing up an article, or throwing up. I've probably done 4,000 articles under my own accounts, not Leo Glossary. What the hell are they worth? Not much. I mean, there may be a few good ones in there, but a lot of the stuff I wrote was time sensitive. I mean, if I wrote something about, what's going to happen over next year in crypto 3 years ago. Well, that's worthless information now. Um, but more importantly, it's not tied. None of that crap's tied together. They're just blog posts under one account, which up to this point aren't even really searchable. Um, that's why Leo Glossary is something a lot different, and that's actually tying stuff together. And that's why mega containers, what Mike possibly is doing, is taking the same concept, tying this information together. And I'll use that. Okay, the mega containers aren't mine. He's setting them up, but I'll put the containers underneath because then that feeds in and ties underneath there. It all ties together. So if I do 6 containers or 8 containers or 10 containers under AI images, just as an example, or under music or under whatever, um, it's the same thing. Same thing with those playlists. There's about 4 of us who've done most of the playlists and done a lot of them. Well, guess what? You search playlists, you're going to come up with mostly 4 people. And
So
that's where we did run into some technical difficulties.
okay, so you're saying go and putting a container under how do you go and find the mega container and then you just put a container
Yeah.
thread under that? So reply to the mega container with a
Well, you create a container. So let's say you wanted to do, let's say AI images. So you have your AI image program that you use, and you say, okay, I'm going to make AI images of, I don't know, beach scenes. So you do your prompts and you create all these images of beach scenes, waves and sunbathers, people playing volleyball and whatever. So you get an assortment of images, and you say, okay, same thing. It's just like a playlist. It's just like a threadcast. You have your top container, your top thread. This is a container of beach scenes.
okay.
AI images, AI graphics, whatever you tag it. I think we're tagging AI image, AI graphics. Then you probably want to tag it beach and stuff like that, scenery, something, whatever. And maybe you have an image tied to it. Maybe you don't. In the main thread. Then you post that. You open it up, and then you post everything underneath, just like you do with your songs for a playlist. You post all these images, and then you take that main container, main thread, and then you go to the mega container and you put it in there because there's AI images. As I said, I think there's 3 set up, but hopefully he'll set up more. I keep dropping some ideas, and he has ideas, and over time, as these things fill in, um, you'll probably, as I said, have travel and sports and different types of things. Maybe hobbies. Maybe within hobbies, you get poker playing or woodworking or whatever. I mean, it's really a very versatile concept. I mean, it's basically the same thing I'm doing with Leo Glossary. It's just he's using threads more than blog posts, but same principle.
But you go to create that container thread under the mega so we'll find the
Well,
mega.
I create the container, and then I ultimately then just take the container and drop it in the mega container. You know, but I don't go to the mega container and write a thread in there and then start doing it. I build the container, outside of it,
Okay.
and once I'm done, then I just take the container and throw it in the appropriate mega container. Just like if you decided to let's say you decide to make a container of all your playlists. So you would say Boomer Tunes playlists. I mean, I'm just spitballing this, so this actually
right.
Might be a pretty good idea now that I think about it. But let's say you decide to do Boomer Tunes playlist. And so you set up a quote unquote mega container, a mega playlist, or whatever you want to call it, a container for your playlist. So you do that. And you have your different playlists that you've done. You know, you got your Captain and Tennille, you got your Beatles, you got your whatever. So you've created 75 playlists or whatever you've created. So now you start taking the playlists and you start dropping them into your container there. And so now in Boomer Tunes, you have all your playlists. And over time, as you keep adding more, you can keep adding more to the bottom. So you can just keep expanding and expanding and expanding it if you wanted it all in one playlist. Or you could break down your playlist and say, okay, here's Boomer Tunes playlist for the 1960s stuff. And then, you know, any of your 60s playlists or bands from the 60s, Beatles, Stones, Kinks, Who, whatever, you could put in there and you could bookmark it. And here's all my playlists. And then if you wanted to at a certain point in time, you could go to other social media, drop the playlist. You could drop the entire container of playlists. Um, you know, maybe I'll tell them to set up a mega container for playlists. I forget what we did in the music. Music may have playlists. I'd have to look at that. I forget. But either way, I mean, it's just this is it's a way to structure information, basically threads. And you know, one of the things Cal did reply to with one of the threads that I put out was that with Hive SQL and Leo Infra or Leo AI, it'll make containers even more powerful. He didn't elaborate much more than that, but you know, basically, I think it's going to be the more information you put into the container in terms of tagging and labeling and keywords, the better it'll be. But now, what happens over the next year? I don't know. Let's just take the playlist idea. Let's say over the next year, you create, I don't know, let's say 3 playlists a day on average. Um, Now you're at 1,000 playlists, average of 10, 11 songs in each playlist. Now you're up to 10,000 songs on the playlist. You label each song with the artist, with the name of the song, so that that's going to appear. It's in a container. I mean, you know, maybe that stuff gets found. And then we haven't even talked about the recommend engine, which, you know, right now sucks. First off, I don't think it's even on threads. It's on blog posts. But
Mhm.
you know, that's a key aspect to YouTube. That's a key aspect to Spotify. I presume. I don't know Spotify at all, but I presume if you listen to a song, they have a recommend engine that says,
Yeah, they do. They had when I was on Spotify. I'm like, okay, I had these songs, and these are
yeah,
the songs that were like.
yeah, here's like songs or other songs you might enjoy. Same thing as Netflix. They do the same thing. I mean, you know, that's what it's about, and that's what Leo needs to build. But again, see, this is where I come from in terms of my thinking. It's I don't give a shit what's available today. It's what's going to be available a year from now. And based upon what I was told, this stuff's coming. So I don't give a shit if it's here this week, next week, 2 years from now, whatever. You know, I got a lot of stuff I can do. Now, polls, I want that because I can physically do something. The recommend engine, if that takes 6 months, takes a year, what's the difference? I can't do anything about it anyway. So when it
Mhm.
comes, it comes. When it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, but you know, polls. If you gave me polls tomorrow, I could go to work on them, and I could go to work using them. But if it's another 3 weeks for it, 4 weeks, okay, whatever. What am I going to do? So I have enough stuff to occupy my time to keep building and to keep grabbing more digital real estate. And that's what it comes down to. And, putting out a thread, here's my lunch. I mean, that doesn't do much,
Mm.
especially if I'm not tying it. Okay, if I'm part of the foodie community and it's tied to that community and we're using certain tag words, okay, that's something a little different. But it's still, to me, I mean, even these pictures of nice sunsets. Okay, it's a nice picture, but what does it do for you in 6 months?
Now, if you create the AI container with the sunsets,
Well, or if you create a container of your own AI, not even AI, it's your own image, it's your own pictures. But if you say, okay, here's my container of scenic pictures I've taken, and you just keep adding them to the container, and now they're all captured in there. Well, over time, if you're doing, let's say, 2 pictures a day that you post, you know, a year from now you got 700 pictures. Well, the container's going up to 10,000 once half SQL is done. It's I don't know how they limited it or how they know it's limited, but right now there's about 2,000 limit. So um, 10,000 is more than enough. I mean, you're not gonna go that many because sorting through all that crap is impossible. I mean, who else is going to scroll down 10,000 photos? But you can then start moving them around into different containers. But people are just too accustomed posting on social media, and that's it because they don't give a shit. Well, I want everything that I put up to have value, and I do a lot of news on Leo just to get that stuff up there. I know that has no value beyond the next 10 minutes.
right? Because I think it's because of the 24-hour news cycle. It's just there's
Oh
something like,
no, it's because it's news.
mm,
I mean, who gives a shit? I mean, who gives a shit about the news that happened Saturday? I mean, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. What the Knicks did, or what the Lakers did, or what the Minnesota Timberwolves did on Saturday means nothing because there's another game today, or there's another game yesterday, or there'll be another game tomorrow. You know, the whatever Russian Ukraine did on Saturday, who gives a crap? Because they did more stuff yesterday, they did more stuff today. It's just news. That's why news databases and news entities are worth a lot less than like television shows and movie studios. Why? I mean, because you can have MASH has been off the air for 40 years, but those episodes still have value. I Love Lucy still has value. Uh, you know, Gone with the Wind, even though it's 1939. So what's that? 85 years. That still has value. Trust me, a newscast from 1976 for the nightly news doesn't mean anything. The entire career of Dan Rather, there's a few moments that may stand out, like
the Berlin Wall.
yeah, and that was actually Tom Brokaw who did that one.
That's right.
So, but that's it. In 40-year career, it's like there's only a few moments of it. So that's news. But you take the career of a Kevin Costner or Denzel Washington or Cary Grant or Marilyn Monroe or Tony Curtis or any of these people, you know, or musicians, the Rolling Stones or whoever. Uh, that all still has value because it's timeless stuff. You can listen to a Nat King Cole song today the same as you could in the 1960s. Same song, same music, strikes people. I mean, obviously music strikes people differently, but it has the ability to strike people the same as it did in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
What the weather was on, February 4th, 1968, who cares? What the weather was February 4th, 2024, who cares? You don't give a shit. And that's the point. And that's where, when you're not monetized, you don't care. You throw all the crap up on Twitter, you're not making any money, you don't care. But on Leo, I take a different approach. This is digital real estate, and if I'm going to be posting about the weather, 2 days from now, nobody's going to care. What good is that thread? I'm not saying that we don't shouldn't have that, but again, you better mix in something that's building something, and I don't see a lot of people doing that. Up more for me. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I'm working my way back on there again.
Well, it's there's just so many possibilities that it's. Uh, I mean, but again, what's the intention? And people are going to complain about the ad revenue. People complain about this, that, and the other thing. It's like, well, what the hell are you doing?
How are you going to get the ad revenue or whatever if there's nothing there to click? I mean, you're
That was
not putting anything there to click on. You're not going to have any revenue.
I would agree with you, and I would also go back to what we discussed in the past and all these views that these YouTube videos get over 14, 15, 16 years. Again, it's I can listen to a song on YouTube. Doesn't matter whether that was uploaded yesterday, this morning, or 15 years ago. Doesn't matter. Song I want to listen to, it's a song I want to listen to. I don't need people. People don't need to upload every song to YouTube every morning. But see, that seems to be to get any engagement on threads. It's like, well, it's only what threads were loaded down. Well, that's stupid, because that means every morning, you know, whenever morning starts for all of us, the
Uh-huh.
proverbial UTC kickoff, let's say 12:01 UTC time. We're starting from scratch. It's like, that makes no sense. How do you think things are going to grow? Unless you have millions of threads in there for people to engage with. And I'll grant you, okay, the searchability and the finding of stuff, okay, that's a problem, and that's a UI problem, and a lot of issues with that. But again, that'll be resolved at some point in time. That's just some technical issues. They'll figure that out, however long it takes. But you move beyond that, it's like, you better have it in there.
Hmm.
In spite of technical issues, I mean, we got 7 or 8 thousand songs in there. Those songs can be listened to repeatedly. Why? Because they don't start from scratch. Okay, pain in the ass to find them now, the way things are, but they're still there. And yes, the other threads are there, but who the fuck's going to engage with a thread that's 2 months old or 3 months old that says it's rainy here today? Who cares? We probably didn't care when that thread went up. I mean, honestly, if you see somebody who says, "Well, it's raining today," do you really care?
No, not if unless I'm going there and need to know how
Yeah.
to dress.
Well, you don't know where half these people are, and you don't care. It's like,
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's raining today. Who gives a shit? I don't know where you are. It's not raining here. What do I care? And even if it's raining here, maybe I don't care. Maybe I'm not going outside. I mean, I'm in the tropics, so it's the old adage: if you don't like the weather, wait an hour. But I mean, this is just either you're building or you're not, and that's really where I think the separation comes from. And there's so much versatility to threads that if people aren't coming up with ideas, it's just because they're lazy or they're not taking ideas that are thrown out and just running with. Yeah, okay, fine. Don't come up with your own ideas. Just join what's already out there. Just build a container, or get involved with Music in Leo, or go to the party room or whatever.
That party room was really cracking on the weekend.
Yeah, that's it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting idea. It's taking the Threadcast idea to a new level, and again, it's if nothing else, it creates another song because basically, if you take a thread and drop it in there, you're creating another thread.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Even if it's just throwing a thread in there, it's like a rethread. Rethread is actually a new thread.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so if you tag it, which that's what I do when I drop a song, I'll just tag it Kenny Rogers or Tom Petty or whomever. And again, ultimately, that should be found. And that's not all my stuff. I mean, I'm just grabbing stuff out of
Yeah,
music.
you put a bunch of the Jacksons up there that I.
Yeah, it's like whatever. I'll just go to a music page and whoever, and it's like boom, there it is, or whatever, and just grab it and drop it in there. It doesn't have to be my stuff. I don't care. Um, but again, this is all stuff that generates clicks. And now the poll idea. I mean, I'm going to hit that hard once those polls come out, and it's like, how many polls can I think up in a day? Stickability polls, not polls like, well, who do you think's going to win? This Sunday in the NFL game, or who do you think? Do you think Bitcoin will hit 60,000 or 70,000 first? That stuff. If it's at 90,000, who cares about that poll? But you start to get the like I said, who's your favorite Beatle? If it's been applicable for 60 years, it'll be applicable for another 60 years.
Or the conspiracy stuff like who really killed Kennedy or
Yeah, I mean, who do you think killed Kennedy? Was it the mob? Was it CIA? Was it Lyndon Johnson? Was it really Lee Harvey Oswald? It's yeah, you could do that, and I mean, a poll like that, Star Trek, Star Wars, Ginger or Marianne,
Mhm.
who was your favorite angel? What were some of the who was it? William Shatner. Did you like him as you know, favorite Captain Kirk or favorite Enterprise captain, Picard or Kirk? Um, you know, favorite James Bond. Sean Connery or
yeah,
uh,
Sean.
I guess there's more than four, but I mean, you just start thinking about this. Favorite Napoleon Hill book. You um, top Kenny Rogers song. You pick any band, and usually they have about three or four. If they weren't one hit wonders, but and okay, the Stones may be hard in some of those all time bands, but you go with like Kenny Rogers, John Denver, um, Carly Simon, people like that. There's pretty much three or four songs that you could just pull out that are probably their top song. Now, you know, you list three, then put other. And there is, the ability to create a poll. And it's very simple. And that'll be valid for forever. And, it's just you could do that with almost every group. You could take that. You could do Star Wars. Which trilogy did you find to be the best? And I always get confused because the first was not the first. Well,
Right. It's actually the
the
second half of the
yeah. So, but
story.
whatever. However you group it, you got three groups of nine of three. So which one, and it's you can do that. What's your favorite Tom Hanks film? You can choose three of his favorites and then put fourth other. I mean, these are things you can do. Um, it just this is where, I mean, again, if people aren't coming up with ideas and they're not involved with other ideas that have been put out there, they're not thinking. It's just really that simple. And there's only a handful of people I see involved in Music on Leo. There's only a handful of people involved in the party room. There's only a handful of people involved with the containers. And I mean, there's other things that people are doing. They're doing memes on Leo. Adam Barrett's doing, his books on Leo and travel.
Yeah.
And that's all wonderful. And again, you don't have to you the
General.
general anybody. They don't have to join my stuff. It's like, okay, you want to go do books on Leo? Great, jump in, help Adam Barrett. Go do your stuff there. You want to join Bradley Arrow with memes on Leo? Go ahead, knock yourself out. Wonderful idea. But again, do something. And that's unfortunately where I don't see it.
So now we just gotta wait for your polls to come up on there.
Well, I mean, it's not like I'm just sitting there twiddling my
No,
thumbs.
I know you got a lot of other stuff you're doing.
It's yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do if you're looking at building, and polls will be. To be honest with you, polls will just create a mammoth amount of work, especially if. Well, I hope there's the ability to edit older poll, not edit, but to go into older threads and update them, and add a poll to older threads. If that's the case, then that'll save some work. If not, then a lot of that stuff has to be re-uploaded, which is fine. I mean, it just creates more work. But um, again, it's just using the tools that are there, and that's, I think, a very valuable tool that could be repurposed in many different ways. And then you're starting to look at the ability to. I mean, just think about those songs we did with polls. You can go to the thread, you can listen to the song, you can vote on the song, and you can comment on the song. That's three things you can do off a freaking thread when you think about it. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And that's just off a couple lines of text and an embedded code, and then the poll. I mean, that's pretty powerful if you ask me.
Yeah, it keeps it's sticky. It keeps people there doing stuff for a while.
Well, yeah, and then how can we promote it? Because and there was no way to promote it because even if we rethreaded it, the poll never showed. So again, we'll have to see what the technical. But what if we then start promoting the idea of go to this go to this song and vote on this page, and we start pushing that, and dropping 10 or 12 rethreads or whatever you want to call them, and say vote on this song, go vote on this song, do you like this song, vote on it, and get people going and get in the habit of voting. Or you just, if they'll appear on a rethread, you you just go in and set up effectively a playlist and say, here's 20 songs to vote on. Go and vote on. I mean, there's just a lot of different ways to do it.
I suppose it wouldn't make sense, like, if we're not able to update the thread itself with a poll, but it wouldn't make sense to put the poll in like the comments.
I've thought of that, and I guess theoretically that you could do. Um, I guess that I mean that's one approach, and actually, now that I think about it, as long as there's no other comments there, which for most songs there's not, but there are fewer songs. That's one way when people have submitted the music who aren't presently part of Music on Leo. I guess we could do that. Simply go in and build the poll in the comment if there's something else in the database from somebody who's no longer doing stuff. But my own stuff, I'm gonna update it all. I want the poll in with
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
the song, even though it's probably going to require more work and going back into Leo Glossary and updating the actual ones. But like Sean NFT, I don't know if he'll go update all that crap that he's done. He's done a lot, which is good. Will he update it? I don't know. I mean, I could talk to him or her. I don't even know if it's him or her. Hopefully, but we'll have to see. But yeah, that's another way around it. Is you could put the poll in the comment section, especially if there's no comments, because then you're just right below it. But again, it's not together, so
Right.
we'll see it, especially if you have a recommend. I mean, you got an ad in between. It's you're dealing with mobile, so you're looking at the screen in a lot of instances. I mean, it's to me, it's better to get it embedded with the embed code, but you might be right. It may not be available, but certainly that's a valid way to approach. Some of the people who aren't going to update them, but they're already in the database. Well, we just throw a poll in the comment section, so at least it's there. Because I'm not looking to replace out what other people have done. Enough other stuff to do. I mean, there's still probably 350 or 400 at a minimum artist pages that need to be built, and probably 25 songs, 20 to 25 songs on each artist page. I mean, that's not even getting into obscure artists. I mean, there's a lot of bands and big time singers we don't even have stuff for.
Wow.
Well, like here's one CCR. We don't have anything for CCR. That was a big band. There's not one for Deep Purple, another big band. Uh, I don't think we have one for Air Supply, another big band. Cher, there's no artist page that I don't think there's one for Cher. I mean, it's you just start to think Barbara Streisand, Barry Manilow, uh, Kenny Loggins. I mean, the list, the Bee Gees. I don't think we have a Bee Gees page. Maybe we got a Bee Gees page. I don't remember.
I can't remember. There's a lot of pages.
There's a lot of pages, but there's not. When you think
Right.
about it, I mean, it's you don't have to go to. I mean, we're not talking obscure artists. I mean, there's a lot of artists just even in the genres we like that I'm not even getting into country music, which I'm not a huge country music fan, but we don't have Garth Brooks, we don't have Travis Tritt, we don't have um, Waylon Jennings, Jimmy Page. These are legends in country music. We don't have pages for them. Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell sisters. I mean, you know, the Righteous Brothers, the Everly Brothers. I mean, it just goes on and on. Um, each of those could have a page, and each of them could have Carly Simon. We don't have a page for her, and she has a number of
James Taylor.
James Taylor, Jackson Brown, Styx. Uh, I mean,
Janis Joplin.
Janis Joplin, Foreigner, Jimi Hendrix. I
Good
mean,
Lord.
it's just it's now you see why Spotify has
Billions of playlists.
100 million songs because there's tens of thousands of artists out there, and okay, a lot of them are obscure, but it's there's like 130 or 140 Rolling Stone songs, and I guarantee you we haven't captured them all. There's a lot of Rolling Stone songs we've missed because how many albums has that band done? God only knows. Wings, hell, Beatles. I think there might be a Beatles page, but there's no Wings page. You know, Paul McCartney. I don't know if he did much solo stuff, but
No, he did Wings, and then he did like duets with other like Michael
yeah,
Jackson.
yeah, he did those. But then there's Cyndi Lauper, and it's it just goes on and on and on. So, um, plenty of work to do, but again, to me, it's all digital real estate. It's all about capture, and it's all about stickiness, all about longevity, and it's all about growing.
Well, we did some good catch up tonight, not being able to do it from last week.
Yeah, well, there weren't much to talk about last week because unfortunately we have gone through. It's been better in the last week, but the week before it was just a nightmare. Threads were just all messed up. So, um, even now, all anything we spent that week creating. Actually, it was less than a week. It was like 5 days, 4 days creating songs with polls in them, and now they don't even open. They open on Labs because it didn't update, but they error out on the regular one because it tries to read the poll and just errors out. That just whatever. That's just stuff you have to deal with.
Okay, well, this was good. Thank you very much. And
Yep.
we'll see everybody again next week.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Right.
All right. Ciao.
Bye bye.